Good morning, Elmira Baptist Church. I'm glad you joined me for our Thursday update. Today is February 29th, 2024. That's right, February 29th. Today is a leap day. Happy leap day. Joshua 1:9 tells us, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest." And the quote of the day comes from G.K. Chesterton. He always has a witty way of putting things. He said, "I would maintain that thanks is the highest form of thought, and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder." Gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder. It is true that often we forget to be thankful, and it's because we've quit wondering at things that are amazing. For example, did you have a warm shower this morning? There were months in Mongolia where we went without any hot water in the house. Not in the kitchen, not in the bathroom, no hot water. Now you can make hot water by boiling it or putting an electrical coil in it and using electricity to heat the water, but no hot water. Every time I get in the shower now, I'm grateful. Often, I shouldn't say every time, often I get in the shower, I'm grateful for hot water. Or did you have a filling breakfast this morning? Do you know there are literally hundreds of millions of people who got up this morning, started their day, and skipped breakfast, not because they wanted to skip breakfast, but there was no food available to them in their home or where they woke up at. I was reading recently that if you have $400 in your bank account, so that if you had a $400 car repair, which, trust me, $400 car repair is a very small repair. $400 car repair, you could pay for it in cash. You are better off than many people in the United States. There's whole groups of people in the U.S. who, if they had a $400 car repair, would not have the money to pay it. They'd have to go borrow. They'd have to put it on a credit card and pay interest. It's incredible to think of. So here's G.K. Chesterton's quote again. "I would maintain that thanks is the highest form of thought, and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder." Is your happiness doubled by wonder today? This Sunday, Billy Allardyce, our missionary in France, will be with us all day. He's going to be here for Sunday school, and I've invited both adult classes, the teens, and the elementary age children are welcome to join us also. He's going to speak in general about missions and encourage us to consider what we can do for missions. Then in the morning, at the morning worship, he's also going to preach to us, and he'll be back in the evening to preach to us also. And one of those two, he's going to speak a lot about his ministry there in France. I want to encourage you to come out so that you can know better how to pray for him. We also will take a love offering at several points during Sunday's worship. We'll take an offering, and we will dedicate one of those as the love offering. And I want to encourage you to give generously to the Allardyce family. The Lord will bless you for that, so consider what you can give when you come this Sunday. Here are some other dates on the calendar. Next Tuesday, March 5th, is the senior breakfast. That will start at 10:30 in the morning. 10:30, March 5th, senior breakfast. Now listen. Something else is happening on March 5th that I want to bring to your attention. That is the primary for the state of California. And I'll talk more about what that means in a minute, but if you have received your ballots and not yet sent them in, it's not too late. Get informed and plan to vote Tuesday, March 5th. Saturday, March 9th at 9 o'clock, we're going to have an all-church work day, and the goal is work outside and work inside. So we could use you that Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll provide some donuts. I'll provide some coffee. The church, will provide some donuts. We'll provide some coffee. You come on out and plan to work with us. And often lunch has been provided. If you can stay until lunchtime, you can eat with us, and then you can head home. If you can stay for the afternoon, great. We'll just keep you busy working that Saturday, March 9th, 9 o'clock in the morning. Then Sunday, March 10th is daylight savings time. That's when it begins. So you lose an hour. You set your clocks forward. Just want to remind you about that, since that's Sunday, March 10th. Saturday, March 16th. We'll meet here at 11 o'clock. Listen carefully. Saturday, March 16th, here at 11 o'clock, we will go out to distribute some invitations for our Come Rise With Us in Hope, Resurrection Sunday. That's on March 31st, the Resurrection Sunday is, but the 16th, we want to go out and we want to put invitations in people's hands. Sunday, March 17th, 5 o'clock in the evening, normal meeting time, but a different meeting place. We're going to go down to Pinole and meet at First Baptist Church of Pinole, which is actually in San Pablo, but the address is there in the bulletin. And I understand several other churches are going to be at that same location. We're going to join together for a singspiration. We're going to enjoy a good time of just singing. And there'll be a short devotional. And then after that, a time of fellowship. I want to encourage you to come. That is Sunday, March 17th, 5 o'clock in the evening. And again, the address for that church's building is in your bulletin. Saturday, March 23rd is the Ladies' Prayer Breakfast. Men, you can go blitzing with me. Ladies' Prayer Breakfast starts at 9:30. Then we'll start our blitzing at 10. And then on Sunday, March 24th is our next Food and Fellowship. Sunday, March 24th, Food and Fellowship. Saturday, March 30th, another opportunity to go blitzing. That also at 10 o'clock. And also on Saturday, March 30th, Nelson Hernandez has invited the entire church family to his daughter's quinceañera. It's from 4:30 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at the evening at the Thousand Oaks Community Thousand Oaks Community Center, the one on Alamo. That's on Saturday, March 30th in the afternoon. And then Sunday, March 31st is Resurrection Sunday. I hope you are considering who you can invite out for that Sunday, Sunday, March 31st. I mentioned earlier that the primary is coming up. March 5th is primary election for California. And California has a jungle primary system. So if you are familiar with a normal primary system, what happens is the Democrats put forth a group of candidates and we vote, and one of those candidates gets the most votes, and that's the Democratic candidate. And the Republicans put out a slate of candidates, and we vote. If you're registered Democrat, Republican, you vote, and then there's one Republican and one Democrat. That's not how the California primary system works anymore. In the California primary system, you put in the Democrats, you put in the Republican nominees, you put in any independent nominees, and we all vote in our district, and the top two vote getters are put forward as the nominee. They could be two Democrats, they could be two Republicans, although I don't think that would happen here in California. It could be two independents, that would be even rarer. But the truth is, if you don't vote in the primary election on Tuesday, you may not have a candidate you like in the general election. Now, even if you vote in the primary election, you might not have a candidate that you like in the general election, but you don't want it to be your fault because you did not vote. So I want to encourage you, get informed, vote in the primary next Tuesday, March 5th. As we continue to pray for our building project, let's pray specifically for the building permits we need to move forward. We did hear back from the county after we resubmitted, and they had a few more comments that they'd like us to address before they're ready to issue permits. So pray that we can get our response back to them quickly. They can respond to us quickly as they did this last time, and pray that they would be reasonable in their responses so that we can get working on this project again. You probably saw, if you've been here to the church's campus recently, that the transformer pad has been installed, including the bollards, those big iron metal pipes next to it so that you don't run into it on accident. Those have all been installed, and we will now wait for PG&E to come and pull the power to the building. But we need those permits. Please be praying for the building permits. Joshua 1:9 says, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest." That was Joshua 1:9. I'm encouraged because this verse reminds me that God goes with me. And because God goes with me, he does not want me to be afraid or discouraged. And he does want me to be bold and faithful to him. Now, before we get into the meaning of this verse, what this verse teaches us, consider the pronouns in this verse. Yes, God says, have not I commanded thee? So it's a personal comment from God to his servant Joshua that I believe carries through. We're going to look at Hebrews here in a second. Carries through to us today. God speaks to us, but no. God doesn't just speak to us. God speaks to me. When he's speaking to Joshua, he says, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. Now, I know the these and the thous, we often a little bit disdainful of them. I mean, that's old talk, but what it does for us in English is it distinguishes between singular and plural. Thee and thou is singular, you and ye is plural. So God isn't just talking to the children of Israel as a great big group, and he's with the group, and just individually, who knows? No, God's speaking to Joshua. And when God speaks to us, he uses thee and thou, but he uses thee. Here, listen to Hebrews 13, 5 and 6. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So God isn't just with Elmira Baptist Church, but and of course the pastor, but maybe not me. No, God is with you. God is with thee. God is with singular you. Boy, what encouragement I find in that God is with me, not just us. God is with me wherever I go. And so because God is with me, he has some negative things to avoid and some positive things to do. The verse gives them positive and then negative. Let's start with the negative things. God doesn't want me to be afraid. Now, I have to admit, I'm afraid. Fear is a natural human response to the unknown, to the unexpected, to the overwhelming. But God says, don't be afraid. I am with you. And he says, don't be dismayed. We don't use that word dismayed much anymore. But let me give you a good synonym for it. Don't be discouraged. And don't lose heart. To lose heart, don't be apathetic. You know, sometimes it's not that we're discouraged. We just don't care anymore. We just feel like we've been beaten down and beaten down and beaten down. We just say, it just doesn't matter. I've tried. It doesn't matter. That person who says, I've tried and it doesn't matter, is dismayed. Now, there are some things you ought to give up on because God didn't call you to do it, frankly. But there are a lot of things God's called me to do, and my flesh says, you've tried that. It doesn't matter. And if I agree with that wrong thinking, I am dismayed. I'm not afraid. I just don't think it matters anymore. I become dismayed. Don't be dismayed, he says. And then he gives us the positive. He says, be strong and of a good courage. He wants us to be strong. He wants us to remember that God strengthens us. I think sometimes we read these verses and we say, I got to pump myself up. I got to bang my head against the wall. I got to, thump my chest a couple times. No. The strength comes from God. He tells me that my grace is sufficient for, again, thee, singular. Not us. Well, I'm glad God gives the pastor grace because he needs it. And I'm glad God gives the deacons grace because they need it. It's more than that. God gives you, thee, grace. God gives thee grace. Singular you, God gives grace. And so we're strong. Not because I'm strong as a human being, but because God's grace can flow through me. And whatever God has called me to do, he will give me strength to do. Let me make a very specific application to you mothers with little ones at home, because I know it seems overwhelming. How can you keep up with the house and the little ones and a husband, and then you have ministry at church, and it just seems like a tsunami sometimes? God's grace is sufficient. You can trust him. But not only are we to be strong, we're also to be bold. We're to be brave. We're to be courageous. We're to stand strong when others say, be afraid. When our flesh says, you can't do it. but we know God's called us to do it, we need to be courageous. We need to act boldly. We need to act decisively. Let me make a specific application to you men. God's put you in a place of leadership in your home. Husbands, fathers, God's put you in a place of leadership. Are you acting decisively when God calls you to act? Not when you want to act, not when you want to solve problems, not when you're tired of this and you're going to fix it. No, not that at all. When God says, here, this is what I want you to do, are you acting decisively? God goes with us. He doesn't want us to be dismayed or discouraged. He doesn't want us to be fearful. What he wants us to be is standing strong in God's strength and acting decisively when he's called us to act. Don't forget, this Sunday, Brother Allardyce will be with us all day, starting at 9:45. Let me say that again, 9:45. He'll be with us, and he'll be with us until the evening. He'll be with us again at 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I don't want you to come primarily because Billy Allardyce is going to be with us. I want you to come primarily because you love God and you're excited to worship him with your sisters and with your brothers in Christ. So join us this Sunday, 9:45, Sunday school, 11 o'clock morning worship, and 5 o'clock evening worship. I'll be here.